This poor guy passed by a street vendor on the road. The street vendor told him that if he wanted to change his life, he should buy this golden spoon for 101. It sounded ridiculous yet convincing, so Sung Cheon still bought it. The vendor carefully gave him a guidance. Have 3 meals with a rich family, you'll become a rich kid. After that, he went to a rich friend's home to give him the solved homework. Unexpectedly, the other classmates were also there. Jang Gun gave him 201 and chased Sung Cheon out. That embarrassed the little boy. Hwang Tae-yong spoke up, "You're here anyway. Let's have a meal together." It was the first time Sung Cheon enjoyed a meal of a rich family. He opened his eyes to the expensive dishes. However, Jang Gun had no intention to let Sung Cheon alone when the maid gave Sung Cheon a set of golden tableware. He probably wasn't used to using golden tableware. Stainless steel was more suitable for him. Tae-yong didn't want his friend to act like that in his home. Eventually, Sung Cheon just used the spoon he bought earlier. He said he was his parents' precious son, so that he also had one. This was also the reason why he spent 101 on this spoon. But he never expected it. The spoon sparkled when he had a few bites. This reminded him of the vendor's words, "Your human condition will be switched around after having 3 meals, his parents will be yours, to have a chance to dine at the rich family." Sung Cheon helped Tae-young with the report, which was a difficult problem for Tae-young. His father tore all of his previous reports into pieces. Sung Cheon's help was what he wished for. Astonishingly, his father accepted the report written by Sung Cheon. He even praised Tae-young. That was what he had wished for since he was small. Tae-young bought Sung Cheon a fancy meal and an amount of money to thank him. It was a pity that they didn't dine at Tae-young's home, yet, they became good friends after that, so it would be another chance for him to dine at Tae-young's home. One day when Sung Cheon came to give Tae-young the solved homework, he asked for a bowl of black bean noodles instead of a payment. Tae-young was puzzled, yet, he still agreed. Before Sung Cheon could have a bite, Tae-young's father suddenly came home. As for Hwang Hyun-do, time is extremely precious. They can't waste it on a poor guy. Sung Cheon didn't have a bite yet. It wasn't easy to have another chance, so when they all left the dining room, he snatched the bowl of noodles from the maid's hand, successfully had the second meal there. On the way home, he remembered that Tae-young enjoyed noodles with him though he was full. That made him feel sorry. Also, he felt ashamed of himself for trying to make his friend's parents his, and that was why he decided to throw the spoon into the trash bin. The thing was that Hyun-do knew it was Sung Cheon who wrote the report for Tae-young. Sung Cheon's competence made him feel intimidated. So he forced his son to corner. So far, Tae-young had no backbone to raise objections to his father. The following day, Tae-young came to see the dean with his stepmother. His stepmother asked if Sung Cheon was blackmailing Tae-young. They used money transfer receipts to turn Sung Cheon into a blackmailer. Using their power, they wanted to expel Sung Cheon from school. Sung Cheon looked helplessly at Tae-young. But he didn't dare to look at Sung Cheon's eyes. Despite that, Sung Cheon begged him to tell them the truth. Tae-young daren't do opposite what his dad said. In the end, Sung Cheon was expelled from school. He could neither accept it nor let it go. At night, he asked to see Tae-young and asked why he harmed him like that. Tae-young did not only tell him about his father's request but also break off a connection with Sung Cheon. Tae-young's words destroyed the little hope of Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon was actually recording their conversation. He threatened to give the recording to the media, which would ruin their reputation. Tae-young wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. He tried to snatch the mobile phone. They fought for a while and Sung Cheon unfortunately fell out of the bank. He caught Tae-young's hands to save himself. It was raining and his hands were slippery. Though Tae-young tried his best, he couldn't pull Sung Cheon up. As a result, Sung Cheon fell into the water. Tae-young immersed himself in the river despite danger. He was trying to save Sung Cheon, but the water level was up to his knees. As he didn't know how to swim, he went back to the bank and called for a help. Suddenly, he remembered his father's cruel character, which scared him out. Finally, he hung up the phone and ran away. Deep in the water, Sung Cheon lost his hope. When he gave it up, he saw the golden spoon. Couldn't give up. He was determined to become rich. It was the last chance that he couldn't miss, getting himself out of the water. Sung Cheon searched for the golden spoon in the heap of trash. He finally found it after a while. After that, he took a risk to break in Tae-young's home. Encountering Hyun-do there, Sung Cheon asked for a favor. He wanted to have a meal there. It sounded ridiculous to Hyun-do. He made a fuss for a meal. Moreover, Sung Cheon promised to stay away from his son. Hyun-do didn't reject him. Sung Cheon had 2 meals there. After this time, he would succeed in switching between conditions. Hyun-do agreed with Sung Cheon's suggestion and prepared a table of simple food for him. Seeing Sung Cheon's spoon, Hyun-do asked if he always took it along. Sung Cheon said he wanted to change his life, to make sure that there wouldn't be any interruption. Sung Cheon dug in the meal. When he finished the meal, nothing happened. Tae-young was running on the streets. Suddenly, he felt dizzy and stood still in the middle of the street, though Sung Cheon thought he failed. He didn't give up yet. He called Hyun-do dad. Hyendu asked why he called him dad. Sung Cheon then lost his hope. Turns out it was just a joke. He stood up to leave. Yet, before he reached the door, a girl broke in and said, "Long time no see, Hwang Taeyong." She called him Hwang Taeyong. Could it be that he was really turned into a rich kid? Before Sung Cheon could react to her, the police came to their home. They said someone reported a crime that Hwang Taeyong pushed Sung Cheon into the river. Sung Cheon was missing, so they needed to take Taeyong to the police station. Hwang Hyendu's action proved that Sung Cheon was really turned into Taeyong. Hyendu called his lawyer to come. With the lawyer beside, Sung Cheon needn't to say anything. The officer showed them a video. Surprisingly, Sung Cheon laughed out loud watching the footage. The one who fell into the river was no longer him. Soon after that he saw his mother and sister at the police station. Both of them called him Hwang Taeyong. They begged him not to harm Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon felt hurt inside. They no longer recognized him. He first felt regretful for that, but there was no way back. He had no choice but to leave. Taeyong woke up in the hospital. He saw Sung Cheon's parents staying by his side. They all called him Lee Sung Cheon. It was also the first time he felt a mother's warmth. He called her mom. Sung Cheon went to the hospital to find Taeyong. Someone called his name Lee Sung Cheon. Taeyong still remembered who he was. Sung Cheon wanted to explain, yet his sister came from behind. He would explain it to Taeyong next time. Returning to the villa, Sung Cheon didn't know where Taeyong's room was. He walked around the villa to find his room. He even went into his stepmother's bedroom by mistake. "What are you doing? Why didn't you knock on the door?" "Sorry, Mom." "What, Mom?" His attitude made her wonder if he was really Taeyong. Luckily, he encountered Taeyong's bodyguard. Sung Cheon asked him to push a bookshelf to his room. The walk-in closet was even bigger than Sung Cheon's home. Seeing all kinds of watches, he no longer felt regretful. He saw himself in all the photos on the table. He nervously touched the golden spoon, and remembered what the vendor told him. A month, a year, and 10 years later, you must come back here to make a choice, whether or not he wants to get back to his true identity. Sung Cheon switched a rich kid around. They both couldn't adapt to the new life, becoming rich all of a sudden. The poor guy spent on shopping like crazy, yet his style was still rustic. Hyendu paid attention to him since he spent too much. The following day, Hyendu took Sung Cheon to a fancy restaurant and taught him with lots of concepts. Sung Cheon didn't understand those. He even said it was his pocket money, so it was his right to decide on what to spend. What he said pissed off Hwang Hyendu. He couldn't control his son, so he came up with an idea to educate him more strictly. But after his identity was switched, Taeyong slept for 3 days in a row. When he woke up, he immersed himself in reading comics. Looking at the meal his mother prepared, he said it wasn't something for people to eat. He had a bite when his sister gave his head a knock with her spoon. "It's the best meal I have ever had in my life, Mom." Their happy dinner was interrupted by a group of people. "Hwang Taeyong sent you those." Actually, Sung Cheon spent money on buying things for his real parents, yet he didn't understand his own parents. He couldn't understand why they gave him back the gifts. Still, he gave them an amount of money to pay their debt. They wouldn't receive anything from the one who bullied their son. "If you got a good heart, please spare my family. Stay away from my heart." Taeyong came back to school as Sung Cheon. As soon as he sat down, Sung Cheon's friends came to tell him that Hwang Taeyong gave them his phone number. The other rich kids no longer dared to bully them. Could anyone bully a rich kid? When the rich kids were going to bully Lee Sung Cheon, after school, they took him home. Taeyong was confused after being switched around. His temperament and action were still the same, so he could overpower them with a few words. "I need a drink. Bring me a drink. Water or Coke." He's Lee Sung Cheon but acting like Hwang Taeyong. Then it's a big deal. The rich kid grew cross and beat Taeyong. Thanks to Sung Cheon's friends, he heard that Taeyong was beaten, because he still remembered what happened to him last time. So he planned to revenge after the position permutation. They kept bullying the others, and he wouldn't be easy on him. Sung Cheon looked around Jang Gun's home. He saw Taeyong got wounded behind the sofa. He cast a cold gaze. Next, Sung Cheon picked a gun from the shelf and pointed at Jang Gun. "Be careful, it's a real gun. Why are you worried? Your father didn't put bullets in." Hwang Taeyong: "How did you know?" Sung Cheon was well aware that they didn't load the gun. This time, he was the one who held the gun and pointed at Jang Gun. Jang Gun freaked out. By this method of revenge, he could destroy his guard. It must have been very interesting. Sung Cheon said he was just kidding. Till when Jang Gun let his guard off, it didn't seem interesting anymore. "I, Hwang Taeyong, have never played around like this." Due to his stubbornness, Hyendu disinherited him. Furthermore, he was asked to leave with empty hands after his 20th birthday. It was not easy for him to be a rich kid. He couldn't lose the right of inheritance. He went to see his dad and told him he got in a trouble. Yet, he hoped his dad would let him solve it by himself. As soon as Sung Cheon finished, someone called his dad. No need to listen carefully. Hyendu just answered, "My son will solve everything." The unconditional trust touched Sung Cheon. He wondered if Hyendu really changed his mind about him. Before leaving, he turned around and posed a question. "Dad, do you love me?" Hyendu gave him an answer. Of course. However, his constrained smile disabused Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon went to the hospital to visit the son of Commander-in-Chief. "Jang Gun, are you okay? Jang Gun, are you okay?" To teach the bullier a lesson, Sung Cheon fired the gun for real. Though the Commander-in-Chief was outraged, he was helpless since that was son of a top financier. A bad compromise is better a good lawsuit. They couldn't said a word when Sung Cheon said Jang Gun didn't load the gun. That was how he proved himself to Hyendu, on his 19th birthday. He was determined to keep his position when seeing the flashy party. In front of everyone, he said his birthday was the toughest day for his parents. He gave his dad a contract of holdings as a gift. Sung Cheon had helped Taeyong with business report. His ability gave Hyendu a feeling of danger. He thought his son could do it on his own from then on, so that he was very happy. "Thank you." Taeyong, Sung Cheon was formerly known as Taeyong. Taeyong was living as Sung Cheon. His mother wished him a happy birthday. It's their destiny when they were born in the same day. No flashy birthday party at all. Taeyong only got 101 from his mother. "I don't need money. It wasn't easy for you to give birth to me. It should have been me who gave you a gift. That's your gift, Mom. I don't need anything but you." Even though Taeyong was turned into a poor guy, he accepted to live like that. He even invited his crush home without feeling ashamed. Sung Cheon had never dared to take his friend home, because he felt shameful. Meanwhile, Sung Cheon was in a trouble. Hwang Taeyong was good at playing piano and he showed it off every birthday. However, Sung Cheon didn't know how to play piano. Before everything was exposed, Taeyong came all of a sudden and he just played a song. Though he had only hazy recollections of his identity, he instinctively came there to complete what he did every year. His appearance confused Sung Cheon. His stepmother and Yeo Jin, who were well aware of the real Taeyong, had a surmise. He was way too similar with Taeyong of the past years. Even the same wrong note, Yeo Jin followed him after his performance. Juhee gave Sung Cheon a letter, which was from the vendor. "I forgot to tell you that if you met your parents on your birthday, everything would go back to the old way. Is it scary to have a rich father?" He had no choice but strive for taking over a position in the corporation. As soon as he found the list of the stockholders, his father went home. "You'll lose more once you come uninvited." Being caught red-handed, Sung Cheon half admitted, "I heard that the stockholders meeting would occur next month. I want to prepare it well before attending the meeting." Hyendu asked if he read his will. The question made Sung Cheon sweat. Hyendu noticed everything he did. "No more pretending." Sung Cheon just spat it out. "No longer cover his ambition. Please let me inherit your corporation." "Can you make another will?" The chairman didn't get angry. He wondered if that was the reason why his son hugged him on his birthday. On his birthday the other day, Sung Cheon received a letter from the vendor. She said if he encountered his parents on his birthday, everything would go back the old way. On his birthday, Taeyong was there in Hyendu's residence. Actually, Hyendu and Taeyong passed by each other many times. Taeyong was walking in front of the chairman. Once he turned around, Sung Cheon would be back to a poor guy. Taeyong was waiting for the elevator and Hyendu was coming there. Hyendu was also taking the elevator. That meant they would see each other's face. There was no other way. Sung Cheon hugged Hyendu to prevent their encounter. His embrace touched the chairman. At night, he talked to his wife. Though he knew his son read his will, he reckoned that his son was smart, and the unexpected embrace made him feel the affection. So he planned to let his son inherit the company. The stepmother wasn't happy with that. While her husband was sleeping, she called someone overseas. She asked him to return to the country as soon as possible. However, the mysterious man didn't realize the dimensions of the problem. She raised her voice, "We're running out of time. Return to the country ASAP. Are you okay to let him take everything from you?" When Hyendu caught his son red-handed, he asked about the embrace. Though Sung Cheon denied his purpose, the chairman still got him. Hyendu encouraged his son and left the room. Looking at Hyendu's back, he thought of killing two birds with one stone. The other day, he visited his parents. He saw the estate agent asking them to return the house. When he was about to teach the estate agent a lesson, he saw his father knelt down only for 50.0001. At that time, he knew he was right to switch parents around, so he just left. The following day, he went to see the estate agent. Without telling who he was, he just provoked the estate agent until he grew cross. "Kiddo, are you giving up on your life?" These jerks were no match for such a top-class bodyguard. He knocked all of them out alone. As a result, the whole group of hooligans followed Sung Cheon. They swore to be loyal to him when he was holding the evidences of their crimes. The estate agent then brought a basket of fruits to Sung Cheon's parents. They knelt down and begged them to keep living there. As he would let them pay the rental whenever they wanted, the problem was temporarily resolved. On the way home at night, he saw a beggar. She came to the sakura trees where Sung Cheon met the vendor. The beggar also found for the vendor to buy the golden spoon. A poor teenager received the golden spoon from the vendor to switch parents around. After that, she came to her rich friend's home. As she kept asking for more food, the maid gave her a reproachful stare. The little girl didn't care. She was enjoying the last meal to swap places with her rich friend, because he didn't want to come back home with her drunken father. Her rich friend was suffering from leukemia. She couldn't live without expensive medicine. When she picked up the grains of rice on the table, the maid said, "What are you doing, Yeo-jin? It tastes so bad. Prepare another meal for me." The maid obeyed. She even told the real Yeo-jin, "Enjoy the meal before leaving, Nare, you won't have anything to eat at home." Their places were swapped. Not long after, the real Yeo-jin died of her fatal disease. Nare, after swapping places with Yeo-jin, kept approaching Hwang Tae-yong. She didn't give up no matter how many times he rejected her love. One day, a poor guy named Lee Sung-cheon used a golden spoon which was the same as hers. She realized that there were more than a magic golden spoon. To prevent Sung-cheon from switching Tae-yong around, she observed every single moves that Sung-cheon made. When Tae-yong accidentally pushed Sung-cheon into the river, she filmed them and reported it to the police. However, Sung-cheon succeeded in swapping their places that night, so she wasn't happy when seeing the name tag of Hwang Tae-yong on his shirt. To check it out, she kissed the fake Tae-yong during a break. His reaction told her that he was not Tae-yong. On his 19th birthday, she realized that Sung-cheon was too similar with Tae-yong. Even the wrong note he played, and she knew for sure that he was the real Tae-yong. Next, she sent Sung-cheon an anonymous message, saying that she knew all his secrets. He wasn't the real Hwang Tae-yong. Sung-cheon sweat. He looked around to find out who that was. However, Sung-cheon was smarter than Yeo-jin thought. His friends told him that Yeo-jin's classmate died of leukemia. In addition, she once lived in Yeo-jin's basement. Thanks to this information, he could tell that Yeo-jin also had a golden spoon. 2 days later, Sung-cheon called her. He asked to see her at the memorial park where reserved the real Yeo-jin's ash. "Why do you ask to see me here?" Without beating around the bush, Sung-cheon asked her about the little girl named Nare. The fake Yeo-jin prepared for it since when he asked to see her here, so she didn't tell him anything. Yet, when Sung-cheon mentioned her drunken father, she couldn't keep calm. Sung-cheon could see it. She made an excuse of protecting her late friend. It couldn't clear his doubts. He just called her Young Nare. The fake one was easy to be spotted. Taeyong's stepmother raised a doubt. She found a chance to check it out when the fake Taeyong wasn't home. Young Shin invited the real one to her home and posed a question. It was amazed that he liked the same drink as Taeyong. And he was also allergic to caffeine. Besides, he could even speak French. "Your taste is the same as Taeyong. Why do you compare me with him? You're good at French." Young Shin even asked him to play piano. This was Taeyong's forte, but he still made a few mistakes. His style was exactly the same as Taeyong's. Young Shin told Hyendu all about that and he didn't agree with her. Whoever his son might be, Hyendu just needed a capable one. Yeo-jin also knew about the change, because she experienced the same before. When she confirmed that Sung-cheon had switched Taeyong around, she tried every way to make everything go the old way. However, Sung-cheon already found it out. She had a preparation in advance. "You're not Yeo-jin, am I right? Except you. I don't think of anyone who sent me such a flat joke." Before seeing him, she sent a message to erase Sung-cheon's doubts. She used Jang Gun, who had a crush on her. He admitted to send those messages. Their doubts weren't a matter to Sung-cheon. If Hyendu knew, it would be a threatening to him. To stop Taeyong from being the heir, Young Shin asked her brother to come home. Sung-cheon had never met this guy, who looked just a few ages older than him, so he called him brother. That man was actually Taeyong's uncle. To cover himself from being exposed, Sung-cheon came up with an excuse. Hyendu also came, and even helped Sung-cheon out. He asked when Juntae would come back to America. He seemed not welcome Juntae. Young Shin came forward with help. Juntae just smiled to skip it. To save his face, Young Shin told Juntae, "Juntae, that's the husband I'm living with every day." Sung-cheon quickly knew how she talked to Juntae like that. "How dare you, you little brat, dare you to look at me straight in the eyes. You didn't even raise your head 5 years ago." No wonder why Taeyong was afraid of coming back to America. Turns out it was Juntae who was in Sung-cheon's way. 2 days ago, Sung-cheon encountered his biological dad. To earn money to buy cake for his son, he quit his dream of drawing comics to work at a construction site for money. Sung-cheon actually wasn't happy with that. If his father had quit it sooner, he wouldn't need to swap the places to become a son of a heartless family. Watching them from afar many times, he could see how well Taeyong got along with them. His father, who had no future, was the reason why Sung-cheon had to do that. That was the 30th day when he could swap back. If he didn't go to see the vendor for swapping back, he would live as Taeyong for at least one more year, to live as Taeyong for at least another year to find an excuse to trick himself. As soon as he arrived at school, he asked Taeyong for a talk. During the talk, he provoked Taeyong by mocking at his useless parents. Unexpectedly, Taeyong kept calm and said, "You only care about money, Huang Taeyong. We are not the same because I love my parents." What he said stimulated Sung Cheon. The real Taeyong raised his voice. "Someone abandons his parents for money." Taeyong awakened Sung Cheon. "Abandon parents for money? Don't talk nonsense. Can it be someone like that?" Taeyong's words were like a sharp thorn stabbing at Sung Cheon's heart. Sung Cheon didn't admit his mistake. As for Taeyong's supposition that someone abandons his parents for money, Taeyong was very steadfast with his answer. "I absolutely would not change my parents for anyone." Juhi ran towards Taeyong. "Something happened to your father. People around the construction site protested against the construction. He was seriously injured and at risk of death." Without thinking, Sung Cheon followed Taeyong out of the school. The driver wasn't available, and the real Taeyong didn't wait for him to get in the cab. So he caught another cab to head out for the hospital. He even arrived at the hospital earlier than Taeyong. He was also the first one to see Lee Cheol. Seeing his father on the sickbed, the man on the next bed opened the curtain. He was Hyendu, father of Taeyong. He saw his son called a stranger dad, which stunned him for a few seconds. What a miserable rich kid, Hyendu and the fake Taeyong encountered at the hospital. The real Taeyong and Juhi arrived, breaking the ice between them. In response to Sung Cheon's clumsy excuse, Chairman did not inquire for more, yet he spoke to Sung Cheon with a profound meaning. "I can understand. Lee Sung Cheon's family was not our class. Although Sung Cheon temporarily escaped from there, Lee Cheol was in an emergency situation and he was taken to the emergency." Seeing his family in trouble, Sung Cheon was supposed to be his nemesis, so he found the vendor to swap back. The vendor wasn't a normal person. With a little touch, the golden spoon shined. "Come back to your home and have a meal with him today." Sung Cheon was happy when he still had a chance to turn back. She said he could use it again a year later. He was sure that he no longer needed it. Looking at the way Sung Cheon went back home, the vendor had a silly smile. When Taeyong returned the cold-blood rich family, the first one who questioned him was his stepmother. She criticized him for being home late, which affected his studying. She blamed Sung Cheon and his family, successfully leading Hyendu to scold his son. "Poverty is not a sin but a disease. Stay away from them or you'll get infected." After being scolded by his father during breakfast, he encountered his pervert uncle. Yesterday, when Sung Cheon was going back home to swap their places, he shoved Juntae on the ground and even screamed at him, so he was giving it back to Taeyong. Taeyong daren't protest against Juntae. As a result, he almost passed when Juntae strangled him. Juntae let him go as the bodyguard came close. However, he didn't give up yet. Expensive means quality. Sung Cheon wasn't as happy as he imagined after turning back. Due to Lee Cheol's mistake during the construction, not only did he get seriously injured, but he also damaged a luxury car valued up to 100 million. His mother had no choice but to sell her organs. On the date of trading, Sung Cheon prevented it, just 2 days after switching back. His whole family was in such a big trouble. Sung Cheon felt a little bit regretful. For the sake of his family, he had to find a way out. "Mom, let me solve it." "Don't do anything. What are you going to do? Don't break the law to earn money." Hyendu was a rich man. When his son's friend wanted to borrow 100 million won, he gave Sung Cheon a sarcastic smile. Before Sung Cheon gave it up, he suddenly agreed, which gave Sung Cheon a hope. Unexpectedly, he just wanted to show off his wealth. In the end, he didn't lend Sung Cheon even a penny. But not all rich people are like that. Juhi asked her dad to help Sung Cheon, but he refused, so she sold her high-end bags to help Sung Cheon. As a result, she earned 100 million won after selling her 6 handbags, on the way bringing the money to Sung Cheon. She saw Yeojin did it first. "This is 100 million won. Hope it can help." Sung Cheon didn't know what to do. This money was just the first step in her plan. She also used a golden spoon to switch Yeojin around. She is also the most dangerous villain of the movie. A year later, they were attending the graduation party. Only Lee Sung Cheon was absent, because he was working at a transportation company. He was learning vocabularies while working, trying hard to be accepted to a top university. Yeojin sent him a message. She wanted him to pick her up at 9 a.m. Though Sung Cheon didn't like her, he had no choice but to surrender so that he arrived in time. On the way picking her up, he encountered his classmates, including his crush Juhi. They didn't see each other for a long time. Would Yeojin let them stay together? Of course not. She wouldn't give Sung Cheon a chance. She told everyone Sung Cheon came to pick her up. Her small action made Juhi misunderstand. Furthermore, she even let Sung Cheon's family live in her house. Actually, she just turned his family into her slaves. For this reason, she could control Sung Cheon, to take away all of his chances to turn over, in order to stop him from getting Juhi's help. She found a chance to meet Ju-hee at Hwang Tae-yong's home. She told Ju-hee that Lee Sung-cheon was of humble origin. Unexpectedly, Tae-yong also invited Sung-cheon there. They heard what Yeo-jin spoke to Ju-hee. "Wake up, Ju-hee, Lee Sung-cheon can do everything for money. He lost sense of shame for money." Sung-cheon admitted what she said. Everything was going well, yet all of her previous efforts were almost wasted due to her impatience. The debt was the last tie between them. That was why Sung-cheon couldn't get away from her. The thing was that she underestimated him. "I like you, Ju-hee." The unexpected love confession shocked everyone. Yeo-jin's plan to make Sung-cheon her shield broken. She had no way else but to conquer him. The next day, she asked to see him on the bank of a river, and told him her purpose, which was the golden spoon which helped her become rich. She knew he once used the golden spoon to swap places with Hwang Tae-yong. She didn't expect that he swapped back a month later. Yeo-jin wanted him to switch Hwang Tae-yong around, becoming the only son of a rich man and marrying her to give her a rich life for good. Sung-cheon was still stuck between his family and love, so he rejected Yeo-jin. As Yeo-jin chose to attack, she had her plan B. "You no longer need your golden spoon, right?" As Sung-cheon once swapped his place, she knew how to rouse his greed. She claimed the spoon she threw earlier was fake. If he wanted the real one, he would have to marry her after switching around. Sung-cheon was dating with Ju-hee, and he did not try anything the following days. In order to make Sung-cheon switch Tae-yong around, Yeo-jin tried to provoke him again. "Move out if you guys can't pay me back 100 million won. However, Sung-cheon's parents didn't have even 10 million won, but before moving out, Sung-cheon must get back his golden spoon. During Yeo-jin and her father went out, he sneaked into her room. This was Yeo-jin's trap. "Lee Sung-cheon, what are you doing?" Being caught red-handed, he no longer hid it. He was trying to take back his spoon. However, Yeo-jin required him to give up on Ju-hee for him. Sung-cheon pushed her away when she was about to kiss him, and he just searching around for the spoon. Of course, Yeo-jin didn't let him. They struggled, causing a body touch. After the vase broken, they fell on the bed. The noise attracted Yeo-jin's father. Yeo-jin hid Sung-cheon in a corner and pretended to change her clothes. As Yeo-jin was changing clothes, he just closed the door. Pulling herself together, she saw the long scratch on his arm. When the situation became tense, Sung-cheon gave up on the spoon. He left without looking back. Soon after, the last chance came. Sung-cheon himself was good at investment. However, he couldn't reach his full potential due to lack of capital, so as to earn 100 million. He and his sister decided to borrow 5 million on credit and invest in the stock market to make money. As expected, Sung-cheon relied on his acumen and trade the stocks. He earned double within a day. High skills also come with high risks. Poor people do not have enough capacity to bear the risks. His phone ran out of data. The trade was delayed for an hour. His 10 million instantly turned into 3,821. He tried hard to give his family a better life, yet, he just caused a bigger debt. His family would become homeless soon. His sister was on the list of bad debts. Sung-cheon totally collapsed, as he just lost everything. The golden spoon was his only once chance. He went to find Yeo-jin, and agreed with all her conditions as long as she gave him back the spoon. His promise wasn't valuable. Yeo-jin asked him to prove it by kneeling down before her. After Sung-cheon got back his golden spoon, he broke up with Ju-hee at a church. "I hope one day when my appearance becomes completely different, you can recognize me and still like me." Finishing his words, Sung-cheon kissed her for the first time and maybe the last, because he would switch himself around to a chaebol son named Hwang Tae-yong. However, Tae-yong was in a big trouble. He suffered from a trauma which made him lose his memories 6 years ago, so he went to see Ju-hee's father and asked him what happened, because he heard Ju-hee's father helped him out. Unexpectedly, Ju-hee's father said that he was the real culprit in the case 6 years ago. Tae-yong was staggering to the door. It seemed like something extremely terrible had happened. Ju-hee came home and saw her father's body. As Sung-cheon had no idea about it, he tried to break in Tae-yong's home. Sung got past the bodyguards to enter the villa. He could have a bite before the maid ditched the breakfast. Before the bodyguards kicked him out, he ate the leftover rice. He finished the bowl of rice when the bodyguard grabbed his collar. Sung-cheon as his master, yesterday. He knelt down and begged for Yeo-jin's mercy. On the next day, he was in a higher position than her. To make sure he wouldn't revenge on her, she asked to see him on the stairs. She flattered him to try to make up for what she had done, but it was all too late. Even if her father had to bow down, he still wanted to revenge on them. "Listen, I need you to do something." In the afternoon, a large amount of evidence is sent to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Immediately, dozens of people went to the company of Yeo-jin's father. They took away all property documents. This unexpected investigation made Yeo-jin's father worried, but he couldn't get how Tae-yong had the evidences of his tax evasion. Actually, Yeo-jin knew why. The poor guy who lived in her home for a year. It was long enough to know everything about her family. He had used his golden spoon to swap places with a rich kid. The first ones whom he wanted to revenge were them. Yeojin called Sung Cheon and asked for his help, yet he didn't pick up the phone, as Sung Cheon had a more important thing to do, which was to help his family overcome their difficulties. Sung Cheon's sister was scolded by the store manager in front of everyone. The boss appeared from behind. No need for the reason, she fired the manager for interrupting her business. After that, Sung Cheon got a promotion to be the new manager. She was very happy about that. On the other hand, many publishers fought for buying the copyrights of Lee Cheol's comics. They even hired him to create comics for the next 10 years. The owner of the restaurant where Sung Cheon's mother was working for paid her double for the next 6 months. She called it an interest, thanks to which, a poor family escaped poverty in one day. It was Sung Cheon who helped them all, promised his parents from afar, "Wait for me, I'll earn 10 billion won within year, number 100 billion, and then swap back his place." It was easy to help his own family. His ex-girlfriend was the problem. At the night when he broke up with her, her father passed away, but her 3 older brothers had no conscience. They discussed to sell their late father's assets during his funeral. One of them raised his hand to slap their half-sister. The real Taeyong protected Joo-hee. He was being known as the poor guy named Sung Cheon. Nevertheless, his rich temperament was still there. He stunned them with just a few words. They even hired a lawyer to kick Joo-hee out of home. Taeyong named many lawyers. Her brothers couldn't say a word. Still, they succeeded in fooling her. They secretly transferring her assets into theirs. Couldn't help. He brought his mother's dishes to the villa where she was living alone. Seeing her oily lips, he seemed to remember something. He didn't remember exactly whether they kissed or not. No more controlling himself, he just tried kissing her. However, the kiss wasn't the same, so when he tried again, Joo-hee pushed him away, which made them feel awkward. At that time, the doorbell rang. Joo-hee left the kitchen. The one who was waiting outside was the fake Hwang Taeyong. He was actually Lee Sung Cheon, the one she loved. Hwang Taeyong didn't look down on the bald old man. He, the one whom he shouldn't mess with, chose a small eatery for a meal. The eatery's owner praised his appearance, which made him very happy. He gave her a tip of 50.0001. Even the chef received a tip. The bald man was happy when the owner thanked him. Sung Cheon wasn't hesitant to tell the truth that the old man just enjoyed the bows of the poor, as Sung Cheon was right about him. The old man didn't talk back, partly due to his father, Hyendu. The fake Taeyong was too arrogant and rude. The old man no longer wanted to enjoy a meal with him. Sung Cheon dared to act like that since he well prepared in advance. He directly asked the old man, "Do you want to lose a big deal for a small sum?" A media tycoon recently passed away. On this occasion, Juntae bought the media company. Sung Cheon's ex-girlfriend was daughter of the late media tycoon. To keep the house for her, he found the old man who invested in Juntae. Sung Cheon wanted the old man to cooperate with him instead of his uncle. He must show off himself to attract the old man's attraction. Juntae received a phone call from the old man while asking for Hyendu's investment. The investor wanted to withdraw. Well, the old man was in awe of Sung Cheon. Finally, he chose a chaebal's son instead of the uncle. This old man is an angle investor. He came to a common eatery in a luxury car. Sung Cheon confronted his stepmother and uncle to save his ex-friend. Both of them began to dig into his change. Hwang Taeyong was a coward. Suddenly, he became very powerful. Juntae didn't understand why he totally changed. A night before the change, 2 events happened at once. Firstly, the case of the media tycoon. Joo-hee's father died of a sudden. Secondly, Taeyong was way too drunk. Hyendu asked the maids to burn the outfits that Taeyong wore that day. Yeojin told Sung Cheon about the third event. An hour before Sung Cheon broke in Hyendu's home, Taeyong thought he witnessed the death of Joo-hee's father. He ran on the streets to take his own life. Yeojin saved him. Otherwise, after Sung Cheon swapped their places, people would think he turned over in his grave. Pull yourself together, Hwang Taeyong. You can't die. Combining these events together, the truth seemed to be revealed. Juntae didn't talk much. He quickly got up and left. As soon as Sung Cheon arrived at the villa, 2 police cars also came. The officers handcuffed him as a suspect. At the same time, Joo-hee came back to her empty home. Someone grabbed the doorknob. She nervously took a look. He was Taeyong, who was thought to be Sung Cheon. "You scared me, Lee Sung Cheon." Hyendu went home with a cold face. He ignored his wife and went straight to Juntae's home, picking up a stick to hit Juntae. He completely lost his temper. Youngshin tried to stop him. Juntae could get out of it. "How dare you do it to my son? I'm the only one who can educate him." Juntae said he was just kidding, so Youngshin took the blame for him, to make Taeyong reveal the truth about the death of Joo-hee's father. He hired actors to act as officers and took Taeyong to a party. Juntae even forced Taeyong to join his club. He shouldn't have teased Taeyong that way. It made Yeojin very uncomfortable. She was the one who wanted Sung Cheon to switch Taeyong around. and she wanted no one to interfere. On this occasion, she wanted to introduce someone to him, introduce someone to Taeyong, and quickly took Sung Cheon out of there. Sung Cheon wasn't interested in this place, he just wanted to earn 100 billion won and then come back to his origin, so he left the club when no one noticed. Juntae stood in his way. Why do you hurry off? Juntae would let him go as long as he finished off the drink. As expected, he fell to the ground after drinking it. Juntae asked him about the death of the media tycoon. Yeojin followed after Sung Cheon, so she saw everything Juntae did to him. I'm not Hwang Taeyong, I'm Lee Sung Cheon. Juntae didn't buy into him. To stop Sung Cheon from a slip of the tongue, Yeojin went to see Taeyong's father on the following day. She told him Juntae drugged Sung Cheon. Perhaps Juntae was training Taeyong's endurance. He seemed to be dangerous. Hyendu asked what she wanted, and he felt contemptuous of her answer. I want to marry Taeyong. Her father's company wasn't in the list of top 500 companies in South Korea. She wasn't in the same class. Despite this, Yeojin confidently promised to protect Taeyong with her life, regardless of whether he agreed with her or not. He had only one son though. That was his weakness. Even his wife couldn't touch Taeyong. Hyendu regained all the stocks of Juntae, and even detained his wife at home for a whole month. He is my son, Hwang Taeyong. Remember, his punishment didn't give them a lesson. They both took an action to take back what they had. Young Shin dug into the media tycoon's death. Juntae carefully made an advertisement to impress the board of directors. Juntae didn't expect that Hyendu brought his son to the meeting of the board of directors, which made him feel insecure. The fake Taeyong wondered if his plan was advanced. Let's not talk about whose viewpoint was right. As the only son of the chairman, he showed Juntae up in front of the stockholders. The chairman's attitude at this time will affect all shareholders towards these two people. Whoever the chairman came down on, he had to make the right choice. You shouldn't ignore the problems that even a student could notice. Am I right? His words gave them a way to go. Concurrently, it made Juntae resent. Young Shin saw the butler scolding a maid for selling what the masters ditched, including the outfit that the chairman asked her to burn, the jacket that Taeyong wore when seeing Ju-hee's father. Blood was found on the jacket. The DNA matched the media tycoons. Young Shin gave the result to Juntae and he showed it to Hyendu, to shut his mouth up. Hyendu had to transfer Taeyong's properties to his name, plus 20% shares of the corporation, and send Taeyong abroad. Juntae was up to something. Being blackmailed, Hyendu had to agree with Juntae. Sung Cheon swore that he didn't commit a crime. Hyendu trusts his son, but he had no choice but to send him abroad. Losing 20 of shares drove him insane. Do you know how much I paid for this opportunity? Come back when you make yourself worth the price. Don't return until you can do it. Everything was decided by the chairman. Sung Cheon didn't have a chance to stay. Finally, he had to go abroad. 10 years of ups and downs passed by. A young man laid on the street side. Sung Cheon in a suit saw him. He tried to wake him up. The guy fell off the bench. That was Taeyong. Where is this? Yeojin and Yoongun went to a flash party. She was finding for her fiancé who just returned to the country, and she asked every single one of them about him. Eventually, she found him sitting with another girl. I'm Hwang Taeyong, the heir. Do you want to see my room? Couldn't see such a scene. She interrupted. Do you need me to help you make a reservation? Who are you? Yeojin. Is that you? She didn't talk much in public, with just a few words. She dashed that girl's hope, so she just left. Sung Cheon wasn't easy to deal with. He cleverly comforted Yeojin. My fiancé, you look beautiful when you're jealous. Don't waste your time. Shall we go to my room? He changed when Yeojin felt embarrassed, telling her to enjoy the party, and left. Yeojin was confused being left alone. She could only ask for Juntae's help, because the only person he was afraid of was his stepmother's younger brother. But she did not expect that Juntae gave Taeyong a slap in front of everyone. He was giving his nephew a lesson. The fake Taeyong daren't put up resistance. This made Yeojin feel dissatisfied. She didn't say anything after Juntae left. On the way out, she gave Sung Cheon a nudge. Sung Cheon knew it was enough, so he followed her. When they left the party, Yeojin pulled over and expressed her anger. I tried my best to turn you into Hwang Taeyong, and you end up a playboy. That's right, you tried so hard to make me switch Taeyong around. As a result, he didn't achieve anything. Moreover, he lost his shares to Juntae. 10 years had passed by. He wasn't improve at all, neither losing his strong character. It was hard for Yeojin to accept. She honked the horn twice, and 2 black cars suddenly appeared behind her. The men in black got out of the car without saying anything. They carried Sung Cheon to the car. Yeojin called Hwang Hyendu. I'm taking Taeyong home. Sung Cheon was carried to the villa. Hyendu was waiting for him. He asked Sung Cheon to his home office. The chairman used 20% of his shares to save his son, but it seemed he was wrong. Still, he believed that his son would give him a surprise. So he asked what his son wanted to do. However, Sung Cheon didn't lay himself open to attack. I'm wrong when deeming highly of you. Get out. Sung Cheon turned around when he remembered something. I won't get out until I finish my words. He seemed to be a playboy who was on the loose. Standing on the rooftop in a worldly-wise suit, he ordered his subordinate, "Start the purchase right now." He invested lots of money, many people strove for buying the shares, it even caused the index, which had already hit its limit, to turn red for a while. Finally, after acquiring nearly 22% of retail shares, the index finally stabilized again, but the person who caused the company's stock to plummet was Huang Taeyong, the only son of Huang Haiyandu, the sole heir of the chairman of a top corporation. His depraved life was on the news many times, until big news suddenly broke out this morning. An heir was arrested for using drugs. This caused the group's stock price to drop sharply. Huang Haiyandu was disappointed with that. He failed in training his son into an excellent businessman. As soon as he carried out the plan to save the situation, his assistant suddenly received a report from his subordinates. Someone was buying a big number of shares. This was clearly an act of usurpation of management rights. Haiyandu originally thought it was Juntae. He used the death of the media tycoon to appropriate 20% of shares, and he just got another 22%. Haiyandu would lose his position. At this moment, he suddenly remembered what his son said a few days ago. Taeyong told him, "Please give me one more week. I won't let you down." It was already a week later. Haiyandu laughed out loud. As for a businessman come a father, that was the best news ever. For this reason, he asked his assistant to wait without doing anything else. During the meeting of the boards of managers, everyone was surprised with the news that Juntae was demoted. This was definitely Huang Haiyandu's plan. All shareholders were panicked. But his sister-in-law was not scared at all. He made an excuse of Taeyong to blame Haiyandu for not going to play fair. Haiyandu didn't need to respond. "There are other reasons for you to resign." The heir who was criticized spoke, in front of everyone, holding his head high, and came towards the chairman. He presented all the evidence that Juntae drained on the purse of the company. The amount was hundreds of billions. A cunning guy like Juntae wouldn't make concessions. First, he denied all the accuses. Second, he believed that Taeyong had no right to speak up. Haiyandu proudly announced that he was qualified. "Now I would like to introduce to everyone, Chairman Huang Taeyong of the Advanced Technology Company." Everyone was amazed by that. Haiyandu humbly aimed at the target, though Taeyong was still too young. He was already the president of an advanced technology company, so he was eligible to attend the meeting, but the outcome was still up to everyone's decisions. To turn over the situation, Juntae used the death of Juhee's father to threaten Taeyong. Taeyong calmly replied. Not only did he regain 20% of shares with his ability, but also gained more. Haiyandu didn't put Juntae in jail as he was his wife's brother. In fact, they had no blood relationship at all. "Co Juntae, you're done." The final result was unanimously approved. Juntae was kicked out of the company. For the first time, Taeyong confidently stood in front of his father. "I'm proud when you can regain what we lost by yourself." After praising his son, Haiyandu spoke to Taeyong's bodyguard, Jang Munjiai. "How dare you hide it from me?" As a father, he arranged bodyguards to protect and monitor his son. However, Munjiai was more loyal to Taeyong. Haiyandu needn't to pay him anymore, because he already had a new boss. Haiyandu also praised Munjiai. Taeyong succeeded in fooling everyone, all thanks to this close bodyguard. Munjiai dressed a girl to act in a play with Taeyong, because someone always had an eyes on him, to make it look real. Sung Cheon gave Munjiai a kiss on his cheek. Munjiai hated that. That was why Sung Cheon had to say sorry to him and encouraged everyone to begin their work. It was Munjiai's first kiss. Taeyong successfully beat Juntae, yet Juntae couldn't accept his failure, so he called Juhee, who was Sung Cheon's ex-girlfriend. He told her about Taeyong's visit to her home that night, and her father's blood was on his jacket. When Taeyong was going out with Munjiai, Juhee blocked his way. At the same time, Yeojin was coming with a bouquet to congratulate him. When he saw Juhee was there, she remembered the foible of the golden spoon. Anyone who used the golden spoon to dig in a meal could gain all the memories of the owner of the spoon, and this was Yeojin's final way to control Sung Cheon, since when she first kissed him. Her heart was melted by his warmth. She had never thought of using that foible. On the day of their engagement, Yeojin was always unappreciated, because her father's company was out of the list of top 500 companies in South Korea. Even Taeyong's stepmother was rude to Yeojin. She said Taeyong and Yeojin were having a misalliance. Yeojin commonplace to the extent of her appearance and abilities. Yeojin daren't fire back to Young Shin's discrimination, though she got frustrated. Sung Cheon spoke for Yeojin. "She's the one I chose. Her unconditional help and trust are precious to me. Is this reason enough?" His simple statement got approval from his father. Of course, Yeojin fell for that. When Sung Cheon took her home, her eyes were filled with love. Couldn't control herself, she gave him a hug from behind and whispered to him, "It's good to see you." Sung Cheon pushed her away. He said their relationship was of general interest, and he had to protect his partner. "Mind how you go." What he said woke her up. The one who abandoned his parents for money like him didn't deserve to be loved. When she saw Juhee talking to Sung Cheon, they were almost 30. Juhee didn't directly ask him about her father's death. She pleaded an interview to approach him. He was arbitrarily not allowed to accept her suggestion, so he denied her. Yeojin would never lose her arrogance no matter how angry she got. She claimed he was hers and walked him away. "You're too much to hide it from me. I forgive you," as you denied her. "This is the first time. Maybe also the last time." Yeojin smiled. Soon later, she heard that he changed his mind and agreed to join Joo-hee's interview. Putting her arrogance aside, she came to see Joo-hee and grabbed her hair. However, she wasn't strong and smart enough. Joo-hee fought back and knocked her down. After that, she asked Sung Cheon to refuse the interview and completely cut off his ex-girlfriend. Sung Cheon knew who was his enemy, so he tried to fool her. Yeojin gave him the last warning. "I'm keeping your golden spoon. Stay away from her to protect your future." Sung Cheon didn't know about the foible of the golden spoon. For this reason, he didn't care about what she said. Sung Cheon invited Joo-hee a meal at their favorite eatery, and let her interview him at his home. Yeojin knew everything. He didn't listen to her. Yeojin decided to teach him a lesson. She dined with the real Taeyong and gave him Sung Cheon's spoon. She asked him to use it to dig in the meal. Taeyong took the spoon and dug in the meal without thinking much. Yeojin looked at him with the hint of a smile. Something interesting was about to happen. Youngshin angrily stormed into her husband's office. She asked everyone to get out though they were having a meeting. Hyun-do was the chairman of a corporation. He didn't want anyone to know about their family's secret, to stop him from opening the mouth. She threatened to spare no one if he didn't solve it as soon as possible. His subordinates quickly got up and went out. However, Hyun-do lost his face. Fortunately, he still maintained his demeanor. Though he didn't question her, she didn't let it go. If he didn't restore Juntae to his previous post, she would divorce him and take half of his assets. Staying as cool as a cucumber, he revealed a truth. "Because he's your son, right?" It was like a bolt from the blue. Youngshin was too stunned to speak. She always thought no one knew about it. Actually, her husband knew everything. Losing all her confidence, she seemed to become his toy. "Because you were still here, Co Juntae could be alive." Not until then did she realize that their perfect plan of inheriting was thwarted. Sung Cheon was also too confident in himself. After secretly swapping places with Hwang Taeyong, Sung Cheon was approved to join the board of managers. As a result, he became more and grandiloquent. When making a bold statement in front of the managers, "I will definitely defeat the chairman." When the chairman made an important decision, he frankly shared his opinion with the media. When Hyun-do asked for his explanation, Sung Cheon refused to see him due to his tight schedule. Tight schedule. The schedule he was busy with was his parents' wedding anniversary. He helped the real Taeyong land a job, unexpectedly. The first one to come was Hwang Hyun-do. "Is Lee Sung Cheon your tight schedule?" Sung Cheon's parents arrived and saw the legend, who was Chairman Hwang. They greeted each other and enjoyed a dinner together for the first time, although they had different levels of social position. They could get quite along with each other. Sung Cheon had the same habit as Lee Cheol. They ate a slice of chili with soup first to warm their throat. Hwang Hyun-do wasn't happy with that. He spoke with an arrogant attitude, no longer pretending to be polite. He began to humiliate Sung Cheon's father. The real Taeyong and Sung Cheon's sister were uncomfortable with that. Lee Cheol's wife said sorry to settle it. This also makes the meal. The fake Taeyong took umbrage with what Hyun-do spoke to his parents, so when they got home, he raised his voice. The fake Taeyong asked Hyun-do why he was so rude to his friend's parents, yet, Hyun-do revealed the reason why he sent his son abroad. "I sent you abroad to get rid of your melting mood." He was frank with Sung Cheon. "If you want to inherit my company, get rid of your melting mood or else you'll lose the chance." They no longer got on very well like the previous day. Sung Cheon left without turning around. Youngshin heard their whole conversation. However, she was no longer confident as she was before. Instead, she tried to comfort her husband. On the contrary, Hyun-do asked her not to care nor worry because he wouldn't tell Juntae the truth about his mother. Youngshin wondered if he didn't care who was Juntae's father. Hyun-do said he wasn't curious. After he left the room, she spoke to herself. "Very well. I hope you won't get interested in it." Sung Cheon still did what he wanted. He agreed to let Joo-hee interview him at his residence. He didn't realize it was her scheme. Last time coming there, she set up a hidden camera. That was how she knew his safe's password. She couldn't understand why the password was the birthdays of her and Sung Cheon. More surprisingly, there were records of her father's death. There was even the love card she wrote for Lee Sung Cheon. The fake Taeyong saw it. He asked what she was doing, being caught red-handed. She no longer hid her motive. She questioned him why he secretly investigated her father's death and why the book was there in his safe. "I gave Sung Cheon this book. Why are you keeping it?" He came storming into the room of his fiancée, giving no care to her hand-picked dress. He only asked about a photo, no longer sweet to him. She told him about the foible of the golden spoon. If someone ate a meal with your spoon, he would have your whole memories. Sung Cheon got nervous about that. If Taeyong knew he swapped their places with a magic spoon, Sung Cheon would lose everything and become a beggar. However, Yeojin didn't want it to happen to Sung Cheon. so she just took a photo to threaten him. However, she shouldn't have mentioned Juhi. It made Sung Cheon angry, and he threatened Yeojin. If you tell everything about me to Juhi, you'll lose a chance to be a top financier's daughter-in-law and even her social position. Juhi was also Yeojin's weak point. No one could bear it when her fiancé still loved his ex-girlfriend. She used the golden spoon to control Sung Cheon. I didn't want to be your business partner. Once she was no longer sweet to him, he was reconciled to yield. She didn't want him to meet Juhi even as a partner. That was what she wanted. Sung Cheon said a few words to burst her bubble. I'm worried that you have feelings for me. Don't worry. I'll obey you later. She wasn't content despite reaching her goal. Furthermore, she even felt self-pity. Sung Cheon kept his words. The following day, he treated her in a romantic way in front of all her staff. He brought along her favorite drink and snacks for her staff. She has nothing to make me feel sorry for her. His soft manners made everyone jealous and turned Yeojin into a sweet girl. Though she knew it was his acting, she was still happy with that. Again, she became a weak bird, asking him to let her know beforehand. Sung Cheon reminded her, I'm just showing everyone that I'm your good fiancé. Yeojin wasn't angry. She already made a reservation at a fancy restaurant for a romantic dinner with Sung Cheon. As there was no one around them, he coldly refused her and left. It wasn't easy for her to make a reservation at that restaurant. Sung Cheon needed to do something important that night. Together found out the truth with Juhi. Getting too tired, he flaked out in her shoulder. The following morning, he prepared breakfast while she was sleeping. Someone rang the bell before they could enjoy it together. That was the real Taeyong. Three of them awkwardly enjoyed breakfast together. Luckily, Yeojin wasn't there or else it would be a mess. When they began to dig in the meal, Taeyong remembered the golden spoon the other day. He asked the fake Taeyong if he still kept the golden spoon. That made Sung Cheon feel worried. Couldn't enjoy breakfast with appetite. He made an excuse to leave. His reaction made the real Taeyong feel weird. Recently, he found a diary and read the function of the golden spoon. There was even a knot. Swapping places between Hwang Taeyong and Lee Sung Cheon, he wondered why he himself could play piano and speak French. Taeyong was going to find out the truth. He came to see Sung Cheon, asking him about the golden spoon. Showing him the diary, he posed a question. Sung Cheon was so sorry, but he didn't know what to do. Before he could tell the real Taeyong the truth, Yeojin stormed into his office. Do you mean you're Hwang Taeyong? Ridiculous. This was the first time four of them gathered around. Yeojin wasn't as sweet as she was before. She spoke in an ironical voice, which hurt the real Taeyong. Finally, he satisfied his doubts. I'm so sorry. My bad. Though the real Taeyong didn't want to switch around, he saw a crystal ball rolling towards him. When he just picked it up, an old woman talked to him. Do you want the golden spoon that helps you have rich parents? Juhi was so naive. She put on a shirt with a smiley icon on purpose and asked Juntae about Mr. Smile. Juntae didn't want anyone to call him with that nickname. Those who called me with that nickname would die. Sung Cheon appeared from behind to keep Juntae from her. Let her go or I won't let you alone. Juntae let go of his hand. As Sung Cheon took everything from him, he gave Sung Cheon a blow. Munjia wasn't by Sung Cheon's side this time. On this occasion, Juntae ruthlessly beat Sung Cheon up. Juhi knocked Juntae down with a taser gun from behind. Her move rocked the boat. Juntae couldn't stand on his feet to stop them from running away. Mr. Smile won't let her alone after she defended him. That night, he sneaked into Juhi's house. However, she wasn't sleeping on bed. When he was finding a corner to ambush her, he saw a stack of documents on the table. These were all investigation reports about him. That was why he decided to get rid of her. Coming home, Juhi recognized someone touched her door's lock. Carefully observing around, she was completely unaware that Juntae was behind her. Someone gave her a phone call that saved her life. There was no other way. He let her live longer. She agreed to let the real Taeyong to come to her home. He came to help her find the truth about her father's death. Actually, Hwang Hyendu sent people to watch every move of them. When Hyendu knew Juntae was up to do something to his son, he became very angry. Juntae wasn't nice at all. The following day, Hyendu came to see Juntae with a load of documents. Long time no see, Juntae. Are you home alone? Juhi found something. Checking all the footage out, she recognized that on the night her dad passed away, Juntae came to her home after Taeyong. Juhi brought the evidence to the police station, requesting them to reinvestigate about her father's death. A big news was revealed before her request was approved. Seo Juntae, the brother-in-law of Chairman Hwang Hyendu, caused the death of Chairman Na 10 years ago. He gave himself up to the police. Why did he surrender? He didn't answer. Could this golden spoon help me switch parents when having 3 meals at a rich family? He enjoyed a meal with this spoon at a rich family. That meant he needed 2 more meals to make it work. Sung Cheon asked the maids not to let him have any meals at his home or even water. Young Shin didn't want him to get what he wanted, so she let the fake Sung Cheon had a meal at their home. Young Shin was amazed when he used a golden spoon to dig in the meal. Do you still bring it along when eating out? According to her memories, he had 4 meals there with his golden spoon. Who had the first 3 meals there was the real Sung Cheon. He was thought to be Taeyong then. Hwang Hyendu came home when the real Taeyong had 2 bites. Does this food suit your taste? Young Shin was worried about herself because Hyendu hated to let the poor having meals at his home. She thought he would kick Sung Cheon out of home. On the contrary, Hyendu didn't do that. He just looked at the golden spoon. When he finished the meal, Hyendu called his son after the fake Sung Cheon left their home. He emphasized that Sung Cheon already had 2 meals at their home. That helped the real Sung Cheon address the root causes of the problem. He came to see the real Taeyong. Sung Cheon was immediately overwhelmed with emotion when seeing his mother. In the last, he had lived there for 18 years. It wasn't time to let emotion overpower him. While she was cooking, he successfully found the golden spoon in the room. Without any hesitation, he exchanged it with a fake spoon. As soon as he sat down, the fake Sung Cheon came home. They understood what was going on between each other. The fake Taeyong invited the real one to his home for a meal. It was for completely removing his suspicions. The real Taeyong agreed to come. The following day, the real Taeyong arrived as scheduled. Sung Cheon prepared a hearty meal for him. When the real Taeyong took out his spoon, Sung Cheon asked him, "Are you okay to abandon your parents for money?" "It's you who abandoned your parents for money. I'm just trying to return to my original position." They stopped talking and began the meal. Sung Cheon smiled with confidence. Taeyong got nervous, yet, he picked up the spoon without hesitation. Before his first bite, he couldn't control his shaky hand. He struggled with himself. Finally, he decided to put it down. It seemed like he would regret it if he was a second late. Sung Cheon was so surprised when Taeyong was on the leave. "Why don't you dig in the meal? Why are you leaving? Let me go, you bastard. Dig in the meal and you'll become Hwang Taeyong. Finish the meal. You come here for that, so finish the meal. Why are you leaving?" They calmed down after a fight. Taeyong knew what he wanted. "Lee Sung Cheon, are you happy abandoning your good parents? Keep living as Hwang Taeyong. I want to live as Lee Sung Cheon." This was the biggest affront to Sung Cheon. After swapping places, he always deceived himself that everyone would make the same decision. Despite his poverty, Taeyong still opted for his family after learning about the truth, completely destroying Sung Cheon's self-deception. Under the dim light, Yeo Jin saw Sung Cheon drinking at a bar. They were honest with each other for the first time. "I lost. I'm no match for Taeyong." Yeo Jin, who experienced the same thing, told him why she wanted him to swap places with Taeyong. "We're the same and it doesn't make me feel lonely. I don't care if the whole world criticizes me. I only need you. Look at me. I have no one to lean on." She cried her heart out. Under the effect and the dim light, it was way too much if Sung Cheon didn't do anything. While they were making out, Sung Cheon came to himself all of a sudden. "Yeo Jin, I can't do that. So sorry." He quickly left the room, leaving Yeo Jin there alone. Right after that, he went to find Juhee, giving her a hug. He felt stormy passions for her. However, her question made him sweat. "You're Lee Sung Cheon, right?" He didn't know why she realized it. It wasn't the right time to be honest. Sung Cheon left without a word. They didn't contact each other in the following days. On Sung Cheon's birthday, he encountered Taeyong at his home. It seemed to be God's plan. They were born on the same day. Seeing Taeyong there, Sung Cheon remembered the vendor's words, "If you meet your biological parents again on your birthday, you guys will switch back." Immediately, Sung Cheon took Taeyong out of home, yet, Hyendu showed up. "Do we get visitors?" There was no way to avoid him at that time. Sung Cheon came up with no way to save the situation. However, Hyendu welcomed the real Taeyong as Sung Cheon. They weren't switched back. Could it be a joke of the vendor or a wrong memory? Sung Cheon was so confused. Right after that, Lee Cheol also came there and asked if there was also Taeyong's birthday. He followed his son to give him dim sum, which was made by Lee Cheol's wife. Yeo Jin came to see Taeyong with angry and gave him a slap for leaving her alone at the hotel the previous night. Taeyong was so confused, he was switched back to his origin position. As soon as he arrived at the company, someone threw rotten eggs at him. Someone else even hit his head with a stick, and right after he reached his office, his fiancée said something weird. Yeo Jin immediately realized something wrong due to his reaction. She knew he changed. "Are you Hwang Taeyong?" Lately, Sung Cheon lived as Hwang Taeyong had been reforming the company, divesting the interests of many people. It was the important time for the reformation on the birthday of Taeyong and Sung Cheon. Before heading out to the company, Sung Cheon encountered his father. Taeyong and Sung Cheon switched back to their origin positions. "Take it, Sung Cheon." They switched back as they met their fathers on their birthday. Yeo Jin called Sung Cheon after she realized it. She blamed him for being too careless to encounter his parents. Sung Cheon asked for her help. After all, he still couldn't bear to lose his rich life. Yet, he forgot what happened last night. He said sorry to her for what happened last night. No girl can easily forgive things like that. This is the retribution for you. You are being punished for what you did to me yesterday. Yeojin really wanted to stay with Sung Cheon, but she never encountered such a situation after switching identities. She didn't know what to do at all. In order to help Sung Cheon, she came to see Young Shin. She flattered up the woman who always looked down on her. On the occasion, she asked about Chairman Huang's history. Finally, she got an important news. Taeyong's biological mother had an affair with his friend. Because Chairman Huang didn't agree to divorce her, she contracted a serious illness and died. While Yeojin was finding a way to help him out, Sung Cheon was having fun with Joo-hee on the beach. He even rejected Yeojin's call, which worried Yeojin. Taeyong called and told her that Sung Cheon was on the beach with Joo-hee. By the way, he said he wanted to break off the engagement with her. Only when they broke up, he could stop Joo-hee from staying with Sung Cheon. Yeojin lost a chance to be married to a richer man. However, she currently cared more about something else. Lee Sung Cheon didn't pick up her phone when being with Joo-hee. On the way to his place, she changed her mind. I don't care what you guys are doing. As long as you apologize, I will forgive you. I will give you one last chance. Yeojin saw how happy they were together. She became more malignant. Hwang Hyun-do knew about the golden spoon since the first time seeing Sung Cheon. However, he even helped him swap places with Taeyong. At the same time, he was well aware of the golden spoon's rules. When Lee Cheol came to his home, he knew these boys were switched back to their origin positions. It was way too sudden, so their phones weren't switched, so Sung Cheon found a way to exchange their phones. Sung Cheon asked Taeyong to agree with his father about the company reformation. Taeyong didn't want to inherit the company, not only giving rise to disagreement with Chairman Huang, but also having the audacity to mock his father's petty habits. Can you stop dabbing with your fingers, Dad? It annoyed the others. Nevertheless, the merciless chairman didn't grow cross. Instead, he smiled very calmly. Taeyong wondered why he suddenly hated his father. He finally remembered what happened to Joo-hee's father. A while after he left her home, he decided to come back there to ask for more. Joo-hee's father laid on the floor. He lost too much blood. As Taeyong was afraid of blood, he had a short of breath. A moment before passing out, he saw the culprit. That was his father, Hwang Hyun-do. Taeyong asked Moon Ji-ai to do something for him. In order to stop Joo-hee from figuring out the truth, he made Juntae to take the blame, or else he would disclose his crime 16 years ago. Juntae committed a crime and fastened it on Taeyong. Hyun-do had no intention to spare Juntae as he was keeping the gun with Juntae's fingerprint. Juntae didn't believe that his fingerprint was still there after 16 years. Hwang Hyun-do claimed that he could counterfeit it. Why didn't Hyun-do give the rude Taeyong a lesson? Because that night was important to him. He came to a museum where he hid his golden spoon in a pendulum clock. Sung Cheon was back to his poverty. He came to the vendor as promised. Joo-hee was waiting for him. She said he once met the vendor. On his 19th birthday, the vendor gave Joo-hee the letter and asked her to give it to him. She remembered that there were 3 chances to use the spoon: a month, a year, and 10 years. She asked to see him there to keep him from switching, before he took his last chance. She begged him not to switch around. Sung Cheon didn't know what to do. Somehow, it seemed like he didn't need to choose. It was already at midnight. They were standing there. However, the one standing before her turned into Hwang Taeyong. Why are you here, Hwang Taeyong? Hwang Hyun-do was entering the residence of South Korea's president. All members of the secretariat were ready to warmly welcome a businessman. Chairman Hwang Hyun-do led a group of people. They all came into a meeting room. Everyone stood up to welcome Hwang, but he only talked to the prime minister. Hwang only bowed to the president. The president smiled at them back. As Hwang took his son to their meeting, the president pretended to praise him. The previous day, Sung Cheon stayed in a basement. At midnight when the clock rang, he suddenly turned into a rich kid. Perhaps their identities would only be exchanged on birthdays. The most urgent task was to rescue the real Taeyong as soon as possible. Taeyong wondered why he was there. Because he was already turned into Lee Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon no longer kept it from Taeyong. Taeyong told Sung Cheon everything, including the fact that Hyun-do wasn't his father. When they were discussing further, Hwang suddenly came home. He was interested in their styles of dressing. Sung Cheon avoided it. Hwang did not want to continue the topic. Instead, after seeing the real Taeyong off, he spoke with an implication. I'm happy to see you again. The fact was that he also used the golden spoon to swap places with a rich man. Compared to the real Hwang Hyun-do's son, he preferred Sung Cheon. I'm happy when you're back to your position. Hwang knew Sung Cheon was stuck with his family and girlfriend, so he was worried that Sung Cheon would give up on the inheritance. To make Sung Cheon steadfast with his choice, he even took him to the Blue House and gave him 20% of shares that he regained from Juntae, but he forgot to a way out for himself. Hwang Hyun-do didn't take Juntae out of jail as promised. As a result, he turned Juntae into his enemy. This is not over yet. Not long after, Juntae got hurt due to a fight. He was transferred to a nearby hospital for treatment, and escaped from the hospital before his sister came to visit. After his jailbreak, he called Huang. "You promised to take me out of jail and let me be your heir." He really had such an intention when the real Taeyong was a coward. That was why Hyendu once wanted to let Juntae be his heir. However, when Sung Cheon became Huang Taeyong, he was very satisfied with his new capable son. For this reason, he put Juntae in jail. "Juntae, you broke out of jail after just a month, while Taeyong waited for 10 years. Based on this reason, he deserved it more than you." Huang Hyendu just hung up the phone. At that time, the fake Taeyong was walking to the company, didn't sense the coming danger. He asked his bodyguard not to follow him. He passed by Juntae without noticing. At the eatery where Lee Cheol was waiting for him, Lee Cheol was kinda embarrassed, because he ate a meal with Sung Cheon's golden spoon. Thanks to this, he knew Taeyong was actually his son. Sung Cheon, the one who caused it, was Yeojin. After seeing Sung Cheon kiss Ju-hee, she gave Sung Cheon's golden spoon to Lee Cheol. Having a bite, he had all the memories of Sung Cheon. He knew how suffering Sung Cheon was due to poverty, or getting rich by taking someone's place. Also, he knew Taeyong chose them instead of his rich father without hesitation. Everything popped into Lee Cheol's mind, which shocked him a lot. Yeojin didn't let Sung Cheon know about that. Because Sung Cheon still had a chance to swap places, the happiest person was her. He pushed her away when she hugged him from behind. However, he spoke to her with a warm tone. Yeojin knew what he was going to say. She tried to stop him from spitting it out. Eventually, he made up his mind and gave up on her. "Thanks for being by my side during my toughest time. I failed to try to love you. Let's break up, Yeojin." Yeojin didn't give up easily. She cried her heart out. Sung Cheon was only thankful for her. "I thank you, oh Yeojin." "No, Young Na-ra, you are much kinder than I thought. You had never done anything bad to me." It really worked on her. Yeojin blamed herself. She went straight to Lee Cheol's eatery. As Lee Cheol knew what had happened to Sung Cheon, he didn't give the golden spoon to her. Thinking that he really lost it, Yeojin left with her disappointment. Couldn't stand the truth. He asked to see Sung Cheon. Before Lee Cheol opened his mouth to talk about it, Sung Cheon received a call from Juntae. He went out for a private talk. "How could you get out of jail? Do you know why I had a jailbreak?" Juntae wanted to end his nephew's life for taking everything away. Lee Cheol appeared to save his son and he got stabbed. Juntae freaked out and ran away from there, getting severely injured, but he still called his son's name. They were completely honest with each other. Sung Cheon could say sorry before his father passed away. Juntae was actually the fake Huang Hyendu's son. The fake chairman had no idea about that, so he himself put his son in jail. After escaping from prison, Juntae took Lee Cheol's life. Hyendu decided to get rid of Juntae. When Sung Cheon was revenging on Juntae for taking his father's life, Hyendu gave Juntae a shot to save Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon wanted to hand him over to the police, but Hyendu had his men keep Juntae somewhere. He gave Juntae the gun. Juntae wondered if that was really what Hyendu wanted. It was time to tell him the truth. "I'm not the one who ruined your life. That is your mom, Seo Youngshin." His sister was actually his mother. That was way too shocked. While she was playing piano in the ballroom, he came there with a gun. Youngshin didn't know what was going on. She was absorbed in playing piano until hearing the noise. Juntae was coming to her, in front of everyone. He asked her, "Are you really my mother?" Everyone was shocked. They were all ears to her answer. Youngshin denied it. She said that her brother had been hallucinating recently to hide the truth. When he asked her again, she gave her a slap, and this really brought him down. All the guests ran away when he pointed the gun at Youngshin. In a moment, there were only them in the ballroom. Youngshin began to tell him the truth, but it was all too late. The only person he trusted was the one who lied to him. The cruelest revenge was definitely hurting the person she loved the most. "Mom, I wish you live in hell." She begged Juntae not do it. The fake Huang Hyendu was happy when getting rid of his enemy. Youngshin went crazy after Juntae's death. Juntae's father was Johan, Huang Hyendu's close friend. "Johan, I failed to protect our son." Youngshin didn't know that Johan swapped places with Huang Hyendu 20 years ago. It was for marrying her. "Huang Hyendu, you lost." The fake Huang Hyendu and Sung Cheon no longer got along well with each other. It was the golden spoon that caused everything. Sung Cheon thought Hyendu helped him revenge. To show his appreciation, he bought Hyendu a meal at the convenience store where he used to work. He appealed to Hyendu's good sense with the common food. Johan was obsessed with poverty. Sung Cheon received a warning after failing to change the fake Hyendu's mind. "Don't see anything that is in your way." Sung Cheon didn't get what he meant, until when he saw Taeyong on the bank of a river. They exchanged their golden spoons. Hearing that they were reconciled, Hyendu was worried that Sung Cheon would switch back, and Taeyong would have meals at his home on the sly. He decided to get rid of Taeyong, to make his position belong to Sung Cheon for good. Someone spied on Taeyong that night. When the stalker was about to attack, Sung Cheon saw it on the way. Finding for Taeyong, Munji and Sung Cheon got out of the car to save Taeyong. The stalker was knocked out in the end. There was another attacker. He was no match for Munji. However, someone drove the car there to save him. Though they failed to capture the attackers, combining recent events, Taeyong said Johan took his own life. Hwang Hyendu was the one reported it to the police. Sung Cheon figured out the truth. He remembered what Hyendu told him the previous day. Sung Cheon could tell that Hwang Hyendu was actually Johan, the schemer of the earlier attack. He was also the one taking Chairman Na's life. The golden spoon turned Johan into Hwang Hyendu. It was hard to believe. Being sure that he was right, Sung Cheon didn't listen to Ju Hee. He declared war against Hwang Hyendu. Because they were running out of time to prepare, Sung Cheon went to his office for the documents that Hyendu gave him. He sent the police the list of bribery and slush funds, before he could take the next step. Hwang Hyendu asked to see him at an abandoned construction site. Sung Cheon didn't expect that Hwang Hyendu admitted to be Johan. Stop there. My friend's body was on that spot. As the truth was exposed, they didn't need to beat around the bush. Sung Cheon introduced himself. Nice to meet you, Johan. We finally meet, Lee Sung Cheon. But facing this cunning Sung Cheon was too young to overpower the chairman. Though he admitted to get rid of the real Hwang Hyendu and Chairman Na, his words were still very hazy. However, Sung Cheon was way too honest. Even when he saw the police coming, he still spoke the truth about what he did. The chairman was still calm and gave him one last chance. We're the two of a kind, so I don't want to give up on you. Continue being my son. But how could Sung Cheon agree? Because he felt he had a chance to win, he confidently refused the fake Hwang Hyendu. Hwang changed his attitude. Do you think I know nothing? Chairman Na's blood was on Taeyong's clothes. You're living as Taeyong. I handed it over to the police department. Hwang Taeyong, you already lost. Once he was put in jail, Chairman Hwang could control his whole life, so he ran away to avoid it. He had Yeojin, his fiancée, since Lee Cheol's death. She had always blamed herself. To escape from the feeling of guilt, she finally gave up on their marriage. 2 days later, I would announce our breakup. You would be dumped. Despite that, Yeojin was still a key that helped Sung Cheon turn over. To thank her for what she had done for him, Sung Cheon said his father didn't die of her fault. He didn't blame her. Neither did she need him to comfort. She was tired of him. Well, that was just a lie. She still loved him. But I knew we couldn't stay together. Sung Cheon was always grateful to her. Yeojin claimed that it was her who dumped him, as she couldn't accept to the one who was dumped. Sung Cheon was too naive. He was accused of committing a crime. He would lose everything if he was put in jail, so he risked his life to escape. Thanks to his bodyguard, Sung Cheon successfully ran away. South Korea set up many cameras everywhere on the streets, so he couldn't hide himself for a long time. He was trying to prove his innocence. At the same time, the vendor was waiting for Sung Cheon to make his final decision. However, Taeyong appeared with his golden spoon. I don't need this spoon anymore. Give me back 61. This was like a joke to her. She had met many kinds of people, however, none of them returned the spoon. Are you sure you won't regret? He was sure not to regret. She had no choice but to give him a refund. Besides, she claimed that those who successfully swapped never came back. That was why she couldn't tell them about the weakness of the spoon. It enlightened Taeyong. That meant Hwang Hyendu didn't know about it. So he called Sung Cheon, and told him to find Hwang Hyendu's golden spoon. Once he could use it for a meal, he could have Chairman Hwang's memories. That was the only way to find Chairman Hwang's blind side. Sung Cheon immediately went to the museum. He asked the bald man to give him the spoon. A few days ago, he heard that Chairman Hwang donated his antiquities to the museum. He couldn't eat out as he was wanted. So that he came to his parents' home for a meal. In a blink of an eye, he gained all the memories of Chairman Hwang. From the moment he met the real Hwang Hyendu, there was also the memory of exchanging identities with a golden spoon. To the time when he swapped places with the golden spoon, he also saw how Johan took the lives of Hwang Hyendu and Chairman Na. Sung Cheon needed to find out his blind side as soon as possible. He called Ju Hee. Her father had the recording of the fake Hwang's crime. That was why her father was harmed. With the help of Munji, Sung Cheon could easily enter the villa. Young Shin bumped into him. He asked her to pretend not to see him. Do you think I'll do what you say? Yes, you will. Sung Cheon knew everything about the fake Hwang, of course, the relationship between her and Johan. So he was sure that she would help him. I will help you. Tell me what I should do. When the fake Hwang came home, he saw Sung Cheon enjoying tea with calm. It looks like you're ready to surrender. How is that possible? I came here to tell you about your privy purse. I've already donated the whole sum. How could he believe such an absurd thing? Right after that, he received a thanks from a charity organization for donating 5,000 billion won. Meanwhile, Ju Hee found the evidence of his crime. She shared it with Yeojin. Yeojin played the video during her live stream. I'm going to share a truth today. Tens of thousands of people were watching. They were shocked when Chairman Huang took someone's life by himself. The police had a reason to catch Huang, but they were one step late. The fake Huang already strangled Sung Cheon. He would eliminate anyone who was in his way. Sung Cheon could save himself by pretending to stop breathing. When Huang let off his guard, Sung Cheon picked up a cup and hit Huang. However, he lost control of himself. Taeyong came to stop him from ending Huang's life. He couldn't pull himself together though Taeyong was trying to help. After having Johan's memories, Sung Cheon became aggressive like him, different from Johan. Sung Cheon had his friend and family. Those risked their safety to prevent him from doing something wrong. They even sacrificed their life. Think of your dad. Taeyong successfully helped Sung Cheon pull himself together. Johan didn't give up easily. He picked up his golden spoon and escaped through the back door. Young Shin blocked his way. Where are you going? Thanks to her, the police could arrest him. The one who took the life of Ju-hee's father, Sung Cheon, worked in conjunction with the police on the investigation. Beforehand, he told Mun-ji-ai where Johan buried his weapon. A few days later, Mun-ji-ai found it buried next to a tree. Sung Cheon was completely vindicated. He hugged Ju-hee when he was released. Oh Yeo-jin didn't know anything, whether Sung Cheon was alive or dead. Jang Gun helped her get out of the crowd. She forgot about Sung Cheon for a moment. As a top financier of the country, it wasn't easy to overturn Huang. Though he was in the police station, he could still control the situation. He ordered his lawyer to do something. The lawyer obeyed. Someone used a syringe and pumped a transparent liquid into a glass of orange juice. Sung Cheon and Ju-hee were hands in hands coming home to pack it up. A gardener reported a few things to Sung Cheon, and immediately ran away. They didn't doubt it. Sung Cheon and Ju-hee smiled at each other, and let go of their hands. Sung Cheon was packing it up in his room. A maid brought him a glass of orange juice. Sung Cheon said he would drink it. He picked up the glass for a sip. Young Shin came to his room and knocked on the door, yet, no one opened the door. So she just opened the door. Everything went off the rails then. Ju-hee went to the room, and saw a body under the white sheet. What was going on? The maid told her that was her boyfriend's body. His death seemed to end everything. Wait for the plot twist. 3 years later, Taeyong published his comic The Golden Spoon. He was well known as an author, as an editor-in-chief. Ju-hee stood in a corner and smiled happily. His mother and sister were also very blissful. The sister called her husband to join them. Her husband was none other than Mun-ji-ai, the former bodyguard of Taeyong. Everyone was happy together. Yeo-jin married Jang Gun, his assistant. They had a cute baby. Regaining her good sense, she let her biological father be her butler. When she and her husband went out, her father could take care of his granddaughter. His smile faded as soon as the rich man left the room. I'll earn money soon. Wait for 3 days. About Huang Haiyandu, he paid a huge amount of money to be released when the public forgot about his case. He pretended to be seriously ill. His wife already changed. With the help of the butler, she used the same poison that he used to end Taeyong's life and fed him with small doses. They kept him in illness for good. That was the price he had to pay for taking the lives of Johan and Juntae. That wasn't enough. Young Shin finally told him who was Juntae's father. Don't you know that Juntae is Johan's son? However, the fake Huang Haiyandu couldn't speak. Young Shin thought he was just acting to be moved. The fake Huang couldn't move his body, so he expressed his emotion with his eyes. He was so regretful after knowing the truth. We have seen the endings of most of the characters. Ju-hee was asked to interview a genius in a city. He was a poor gardener, who taught the poor how to grow plants, and he never failed. Excuse me, are you Sung-hoon? I'm a journalist who wants to interview you. While Ju-hee was strolling along the beach, she remembered that Sung Cheon took her here 3 years ago. They had fun together here. But he left the world, accidentally. She found a backpack on the shore, with a comic book written by Taeyong. A man spoke up. That's mine. He was Lee Sung Cheon. Throwing back to 3 years ago, the gardener, after talking to Sung Cheon, came to the kitchen for the third meal with the golden spoon. Before Sung Cheon had a sip, he was switched around. He passed by the gardener. Sung-hoon wanted to make sure that he succeeded in swapping around. And it really worked. However, he could enjoy it for only a few minutes, because he drank the poisoned orange juice, and he lost his life. Not Sung Cheon. Sung Cheon was turned into the gardener. He bumped into Ju-hee, yet, they didn't realize each other. Not until 3 years later they met again on the beach. He said he wished the one he loved still recognized him, though he looked different and had a different name. The end. Please like and subscribe.